is our 200th episode.
Yeah, we did it. We're done. This is the last one. No, I'm kidding.
Hello. Do you want to play a game?
What's your favorite scary movie?
Be afraid. Be very
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Here's Johnny.
The power of Christ compels you! The power of Christ compels you!
Whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
Welcome to Talking Horror with Jamie and Nikisha.
Hi, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Nikisha, and this is Talking Horror with Jamie
And Nikisha,
where we share our love for all things scary and talk horror through the lens of human behavior. Welcome, everyone.
welcome.
And a special, because it is our 200th episode.
Yeah, we did it. We're done. This is the last one. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, this
This
would
is
be
it.
a hell of a last one.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, so
We're
much
giving the
to
people what they want.
discuss. And we
Yes.
are going to give the people what they want.
Our
because-
most requested episode we saved for our 200th. This is by far and away the most requested by you, our listeners. So we saved it for a very special occasion.
Especially because you know what we're about, talking horror, we're talking mental health and human behavior. So we had to give you the movie Split.
The others told me that you and Patricia told the group about this beast. And I told them that these are just scary stories that Dennis and Patricia tell the others to scare them.
They keep calling us the Horde. The others, you know. Miss Patricia and I, we are ridiculed. Now, we're not perfect, but we don't deserve to be ridiculed.
Now, this movie was directed and written by, you know, our fave, M. Night Shyamalan. Remember our Shyamalan-a-thons? Good times.
Yeah, we did like 2 movies. We didn't even like
We're
do it.
back.
Like, yeah.
He's back.
He's back.
He's back and making a guest appearance, as always, in all of his movies. Good times. So, Split stars James McAvoy, Anya Taylor-Joy, and a one Betty Buckley. Hey, girl, let me see that Tony Award. Good stuff.
Memory. She didn't sing. That was disappointing.
Actually, that was the most disappointing part, is that Betty Buckley didn't sing.
Personalities, so many. Well, actually, this is basically Cats, but
Oh, God.
instead of all the cats come out and introduce themselves like his personalities do.
There you go. I'll
Yeah.
take it. That's the
Yeah.
only version of Cats that I want to see. Is that. So obviously, heavy spoiler. Jamie's already shaking her head. She's so over it.
It's
So-
cool. I'm fine.
It's fine. We're gonna be fine. So heavy spoilers if you have not seen Split. It is actually streaming right now on HBO Max, and also worthy to mention that this is a light sequel to the movie Unbreakable. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
And it's part
Which
of a
was-
trilogy.
Not known at the time. When this came out, that was not
A
pitched to
thing.
the studio. That was not a thing. That was always M. Night Shyamalan's intent, but like that was like kept hidden completely. I don't even think that end scene was in the like early screenings of this. Like I think that
Oh,
was put in
wow.
just for the theater, like the something like that. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah.
Did you watch Unbreakable, Nikisha, when you were doing your M. Night Shyamalan-a-thon on your own?
Yes, I did. I was gonna say, did we do an episode? Because I did watch it, but maybe I just watched it just to say.
Yeah, I think.
I watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I definitely watched Split before I had watched any of that movie. So this is my second go
Yeah.
around of watching Split for the podcast.
Mhm.
So Jamie, please hit us with those trigger warnings for this movie.
So, my biggest trigger warning is reinforcing stigmas around mental illness.
Ooh, yes.
But also like child abuse, both referenced, but also, I mean, he kidnaps a bunch of young women and make like over and over again also makes them like take off articles of clothing. He murders his therapist. He also just is seeing her way too often. Just kidding. There's gun violence. Just crushing people, crushing them with brute force. Little squeeze.
Yeah.
What else? Is this PG-13?
This movie is PG-13, yes.
Okay, because there isn't that much like gore.
No.
No.
And I would say the violence is like pretty minimal.
Yeah.
It's more of just like, I would say like the torment of these young women for most of it. And like all of that stuff is disturbing. So
disturbing enough for sure.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Well, before we get into Split, producer Brian is going to give us a couple of words.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Happy 200 episodes. If you have not listened to any of the 199, they're all there for you.
Enjoy.
And we're boy. We're going to, the Brahms. I don't think we haven't done a boy episode, right?
I don't think so.
Oh God, I fucking love that movie.
We really should.
Yes. Okay. Put it on the list. The boy. But check out our episodes. We have a full catalog, everything from the Jordan Peele movies to every Friday the 13th. We do another Friday the 13th movie. We've done all of the, what's his name? Eggers movies. We have just a slew of horror movies. The Ari Aster movies, like, get into it. Like we're in love with horror, and we want to share that love with you. So definitely check us out there. Those episodes, you can of course find us at Talk Horror Pod. We are on TikTok. We are on Instagram. Those are our two, biggest platforms that we're using. Find us there. We're doing reviews there. We're doing all kinds of fun stuff there that we don't do on the podcast proper. So check us out there. And then as a gift for us, for our 200th episode, we're asking you to write a review. Write a review on Spotify, write a review mostly on Apple Podcasts. That would really help us. 5 stars, and how much you're enjoying what we're doing here. For the next 10 5-star reviews that we get on Apple, we'll read them here on the podcast. So definitely, we would really appreciate that. It helps people find us. You've probably heard this on a million other podcasts. Like, it really does help. So for our 200th episode, it would be really wonderful if you're an every week listener, if you're every once in a while listener, if this is your first time, it would really mean a lot to us if you haven't yet. Cool beans. Wow. 200 episodes. That's crazy.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's been a journey, but it's been an exciting year for horror in general. So I'm really stoked about the upcoming. We're in September, which means we're in Halloween Eve month. So I'm super stoked about all the things that are going to come out for the season.
Yeah. Oh, and follow us on Instagram, because we're going to do a 31 days of Halloween challenge for you all. So that's coming out soon. It's going to be mental health and human behavior focus, which we're very excited about. Jamie is curating this with Nikisha and I's help. So we're very excited about that.
This is a group. This is a group project.
Yeah. Well, yeah. She's yes. It's a group project. But yeah, definitely follow us on Instagram.
But Jamie is hooking us up with the amazing graphics for all these things. So that is a you thing. So we're giving you all your props, okay?
Thank you.
Cool beans. Okay, now I'm done.
Okay. Well, not yet, because you got to tell us, have you watched anything this week?
I watched a lot of stuff.
Yeah, give it to us.
Cool. So, I'll skip all the like random like now you see me too.
Oh, right.
We finished the Now You See Me's. I did watch You'll Never Find Me, which is on Shudder. About
Great.
this it's about this older man who lives in a trailer. It's raining one night, and this person who got lost, kind of this young woman who got lost, shows up, and it's a lot about paranoia, the chaos of kind of like this intruder. It's a like who actually is like nefarious. Like it kind of messes with your head a little bit. So I enjoyed that. That was a good watch.
Okay.
Then I watched The Tunnel, which is a found footage Australian horror movie about people who are this film crew from a newspaper goes into the Sydney sewer system because there's a drought and they were supposed to pull it from there's a reservoir underneath Sydney. They were supposed to pull the water, but they just canceled it and they want to find out why. They find out why, I'll tell you that.
Got it.
Then Jamie and I watched Hide and Seek, the 2005 Robert De Niro horror, psychological thriller horror movie. We will be doing that on the podcast, so I will lock my lips for that one. Then in preparation, the only Conjuring universe movie I had not seen was The Curse of La Llorona. So Jamie and I watched The Curse of La Llorona. That is a movie that someone made. And then
because you really don't need it to feel a part of the universe. It's
good.
Like loose.
It's not as bad as the internet makes it seem like it is, but it's still not good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not unwatchable. There's some good moments in it. The acting doesn't feel phoned in, but like it's not good. Then we watched Hard Eyes.
Mm-hmm. Ah, nice.
Had a great time with that. And then we watched The Conjuring Last Rites. But you have already heard that episode listening to this one. So Conjuring Last Rites. And then Split, obviously, for tonight.
Obviously. You mean you didn't like do a Shyamalan-a-thon and like get your mind ready for this, for Split?
No
need.
Yeah. We could have watched another one word like Old or something like that, but we did not.
Oh yeah, I still have not watched that.
We'll do Old at some point on here. I think that would actually be a good one for this podcast.
Okay. Yeah. And I definitely started The Curse of La Llorona, but never finished it. So I was like, nah, that's fine.
No, not much happens. There's a curse. La Llorona's there.
Yep.
Yep.
The
end.
The end.
That's the plot summary for La Llorona.
Right. Well, speaking of plot summary, great segue, producer Brian, because we need one for Split, a 2-minute plot summary.
What's the plot?
2 minutes for our 200th.
Yes.
Oh, do I get 200 minutes?
Oh, no. I have to go to bed.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Are you ready to give us the plot for Split?
Yes.
Okie dokie. Ready, steady, go.
So 3 young women are kidnapped by a man. This man has dissociative identity disorder, or what the movie says is that, D.I.D. And here there are a host of different characters that are a part of his conscious, which are like Barry is kind of in control. Then you have Patricia, who is kind of like an elderly or more matronly woman. You have a 9-year-old boy named Hedwig, who Patricia and Dennis is another one, try to go back and forth with and torture. Anyway, all of these personalities present themselves to the girls. You have the main girl, who's played by Anna Taylor-Joy, and Anya Taylor-Joy, excuse me. She has a backstory where she was sexually assaulted and abused constantly by her uncle. So there's a lot of trauma there. Long story short, there's also a therapist that he sees that he kind of manipulates here and there. And we find out that he's been hiding them below the Philadelphia Zoo because there is a final version of his personalities called the Beast. The there's a lot of talk of how like people don't believe in D.I.D. and how like you can actually change forms with D.I.D. Like one version of you could know French, the other one could not know French. One of you could take on a different physical form. One of you could have diabetes, the other one can't. So there are these kind of like that they present as like supernatural abilities within this. Um, anyway, Anya Taylor-Joy is able to escape while being chased by the Beast, and she gets away. And then we're introduced to David Dunn, who is the Bruce Willis character from Unbreakable, and we realize that it's all tied together. The end.
And that's the plot.
The end. Yay. Good stuff.
Get split.
Get split.
Banana split.
Oh my gosh.
Split Croatia. Split
Yes.
by M. Night Shyamalan. The triumvirate of splits. Oh, also like, doing a split. Like a jazz split.
Jamie, if y'all are not watching this on YouTube, Jamie's face is cracking me up.
Oh yeah, hi YouTube.
Hi.
We didn't say hi to YouTube. How rude of us. What a piece of shit I am.
Oh, amazing. All right, well, let's get into it with our first segment, Trick or a Treat, where we let you know right off top if this was a treat, we loved it, or we don't know how we feel about it, just in the maybe category, or a trick, we did not like it. So,
Trick. Treat.
So, producer Brian, trick or a treat?
This viewing was a trick. I think I'm leaning. But my first viewing was a treat. So I think my overall feelings on this movie are leaning towards trick. So that's where I'm landing right now. So, but I don't know where it's going to land at the end of this episode.
Okay, Jamie, how about you?
Yeah, no. This is a trick. It's a big old trick.
Okay. Brian, I have a similar view as you. The first time I watched this, I enjoyed it better than when I watched it again.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to put it in the just straight down the middle category.
I actually think that this podcast, doing it with the two of you, has definitely made me more critical when watching films like this, where mental health is the point of the film. Right. And I definitely have a different eye and view of kind of how it's handled, what it does. Like, even though it's exaggerated to feed the narrative, and we'll get into this obviously, like at what point are we going too far in one way that we're just like, that the stigma around a lot of these, I'm sure we're gonna get into all that, I'm sure, but like that, yes. This being our 200th episode, like I definitely, the way we talk about things here has definitely influenced the way that I watch movies, for sure. And if this movie was more fun, I might feel differently. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It absolutely makes sense.
Yeah.
But because it does come across in a serious, they are taking themselves seriously.
Yeah.
And you do feel like you have a right to critique it in the way that you do, because
absolutely, especially when yes, we'll get into that, all that stuff. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We're already in it. Let's get into our likes and gripes.
And now our likes and gripes.
Exactly how we feel about it. Okay, Jamie, I would love to hear from you first, since this is a straight up no from you. And can you talk to us about the first time you watched this movie, and if you did watch it again for this podcast, were there any differences? Did it make you hate it even more? And just your overall thoughts on it.
Honestly, I can't remember when I saw this movie. I'm assuming I saw it in theaters, but like I really have no memory of when I saw it.
Memories.
Good job.
I think this was like the third time I've seen it, because I feel like the second time it was just like on TV kind of thing. Let's see. What do I like about this film? I like
I mean, you don't have to like anything,
You don't.
Well, I like the people. Like, I like James McAvoy. I think he's a like exceptional actor. I have some notes about this though. I like Anya Taylor-Joy. I also like Haley Lu Richardson. I like all of these people. They are good people who were also in this movie. I love that M. Night Shyamalan's movies all take place somewhere near or around Philadelphia. I love the zoo reference. We actually just went to the zoo. We brought Elliot to the zoo for the first
that
time.
Zoo, that specific zoo.
To that zoo,
Oh,
yeah.
God.
And
we
like
got
the
a
part
tour
where you
of the
see like the
basement.
overhead like bridge cages with the tigers, like that's a real thing at that zoo. And when we went, I think, was it tigers that we also saw in there, Bri?
Yeah, the tigers walked across.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We also saw monkeys. So yeah, the Philadelphia Zoo, great zoo.
Cute.
Highly recommend. And it was a plot point in this film. What else do I like? Okay. That might be it. I'm not even going to get into the mental health piece just yet.
Sure.
I didn't like this movie like from the jump, and I feel like it surprises me that people like really like this movie. And maybe I have a hot take, but like when I look up like what are some good horror movies that represent mental illness well, this comes up all the time. And so I'm just like, okay, maybe everyone is just confused. But like, while I like these actors, again, I have the same problem with most, if not all, M. Night Shyamalan movies. Not all of them, I guess. There's like 2 exceptions. But most M. Night movies, he is directing and writing, and he is not a good script writer. And so just how people are communicating and like just the extra exposition everywhere, also him throwing himself into the movie, I just like I it's annoying. I find it annoying. And we'll always say like I think he's a great director. I think he needs somebody else to screenwrite for him, and I stand by that.
I just want to piggyback off of that because that was one of my gripes too, was the whole, it's just so much exposition for no reason, and it really just makes you feel, and I guess to Brian's point too, just us talking about movies in this way has kind of put me on game on how to watch Shyamalan movies or what to look out for. And that was one of the things that really stuck out to me this go around was them kind of explaining why Anya's character has like survival skills, so then they have to go do this deep dive into flashback of her being young and learning how to hunt and all the stuff like that. And it's just like, you don't have to give that away. Like, we can just pick up on the things without you having to do a whole separate scene to explain why she is the way that she is. It's just unnecessary.
All of that backstory did not add anything to the movie.
I feel like it's part of his like slow reveal of information over time. Even though he does like exposition dumps, he also, I feel like, has these like he does, I feel like he does this a lot, and I could be wrong, but it's like these slow kind of like breadcrumbs towards like this bigger conclusion at the end. And I do think that he tries to make all of these different connections and like have it all wrap up at the end. But like again, is that needed? Is that necessary? Or is it just like filler that you could probably explain this character's backstory much more simply?
Right.
Totally.
Agree.
So yeah, like just separate from the mental health stuff, I just don't think that this is a good movie.
Yeah.
And did this come after The Visit?
Yes.
Okay.
But producer Brian will check.
Because I think he also funded this movie himself.
Yeah, these were back to back. So The Visit was like, I'm back, baby. And then it was The Visit, Split, Glass, Old, Knock at the Cabin, Trap. And then his movie Remain comes out next year.
Okay. I guess we'll be seeing that.
Yeah, we will. But Remain is starring Jake Gyllenhaal, and the story was, this screenplay is by him, but the story is by him and Nicholas Sparks.
What? What?
based on an idea he conceived with Nicholas Sparks, who separately wrote the novel version of the same story. The film stars Jake Gyllenhaal, Phoebe Dynevor, and Ashley Walters.
Oh, she's the Bridgerton girl, Phoebe. She was in the first season of Bridgerton.
Yes, and
so I guess it's a love story. It's not going to be a.
So here's the premise, if we care. New York architect Tate Donovan heads to Cape Cod to design a summer home for his best friend, seeking a fresh start after being treated for acute depression. Still mourning his sister's death, he meets Ren, a young woman who disrupts his carefully ordered world.
Yeah, that sounds like a Hallmark movie.
Yeah. We'll see. Anyway, sorry.
Yikes. No, I was curious. Thank you for giving that information. But
yes, the visit was right before this.
Okay. Interesting. Because I think both of those movies was him taking out the second mortgage on his house to fund them. Yeah. Well, because that was after, I forget, he did those two really awful bombs back to back and like essentially was blacklisted as a director. So he was I'll just make this myself.
Well, listen to this. The budget for this was $9 million. It made $278.5 million.
Well, that's why after this, everyone's like, we're back on board, baby.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's the highest until Five Nights at Freddy's. It was the highest grossing Blumhouse Productions movie.
Wow.
Wild. It also makes sense that because I feel like Blumhouse has kind of like toppled over itself in a bit, because originally they were very much like, we're going to produce these movies on a very slim budget, and then they usually always came out profitable. So that doesn't surprise me that that's the like the budget and how much they made.
Sure.
So more of like the plot itself. Let's just get into the D.I.D. of it all. While I appreciate to like the smallest degree that, you know, this movie is spotlighting a like mental health diagnosis that is very stigmatized. It does not represent it well, or I would say accurately, in a lot of different ways. And like also parallel to horror, obviously horror focuses a lot on mental health and things like that. But like historically, I would say dissociative identity disorder, or as it's formerly known, multiple personality disorder, is not well represented in media. There's a lot of representations, and this can also be said about many mental health like themes in movies, but like most of the time somebody is perceived as like violent and like, you know, murderous, things like that. Like, and again, you're getting more of this where it's like, oh, there's a distinct alter who like is going to be so strong and like destroy and like feast on everyone. And, you know, but like, that's, you know, people who are experiencing DID are not violent. Like that has nothing to do with it. While again, like this therapist has seemingly spent her entire career, you know, focusing, like her niche seems to be DID. There's some weird through lines between things she says as well as James McAvoy's character, just in terms of talking about, quote, the beast.
Yeah.
And again, while yes, there is like research to indicate that there are different not only different characteristics, but like, you know, like varying differences between like each individual, they call it like alters, each individual identity. So like somebody could have an allergy that somebody else doesn't, or an accent that somebody else doesn't. The idea that there is like an alter who can like change his skin to be rhino like and like all these other things. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And like she's not saying that that is real. Like she I think several times when she's like talking to Dennis, who's pretending to be Barry but then eventually reveals himself as Dennis, she's like, do you actually like believe this? Like how could that be possible? But there's other times where some of the things that she's saying feel like she's kind of agreeing with that. Like, you know, maybe there are like elements where they're at like a higher level of, you know, of personhood.
Yes.
That I'm like, what, but like, what do you actually mean by that? And are you saying that because because that fuels this idea that like there is this alter who is supernatural? So yeah, that's ultimately like these are all my biggest problems with it, that they're making up stuff, that they're very poorly representing DID, because also like you could just make up something new. Like why does it have to be an existing thing? Why can't, like, you're already making up, you know, the supernatural shit anyway. Like why can't you just make up something that doesn't have any basis in a real like mental health disorder and do your own thing?
Yeah, because I was gonna ask, did the supernatural aspect of it, I guess, soften the blow any? But you just made the point.
No, I feel like it
just
makes
do
it
something
worse.
else. Yeah,
yeah. I feel like it undermines like its own plot, where like this therapist is like trying to advocate for this like very small population. I think it's like 1% of the population has DID. Like it's real tiny. And so like imagine like this very small subsect of diagnoses that are constantly being misrepresented in media. Like that's awful.
Yes.
So yeah, I feel like that undermines all of the like advocacy work that she's trying to do, where she's trying to like bring more attention and awareness to this, while also then being like, oh, but the other alter is like superhuman.
Right.
So yes, that I find that to be like very problematic. And again, just like I feel like there's this huge disconnect between people who are like mental health professionals, or like, you know, anybody who like does mental health advocacy in any kind of way, and I don't know, all other people who like this movie.
Yeah. Which is so interesting.
But again, oh, sorry.
No. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, like, I feel like also the portrayal is always such extremes. Like, we're always seeing the most extreme, like, highlights of, like, most, you know, mental health or, like, diagnoses that we're seeing in movies, but, like, especially DID. And again, it's most of the time not accurate.
Right. And it's, like you said, the representation of it is so hard because 9 times out of 10, also, it's like you said, anytime they're talking about a mental illness, it's also associated with some type of violence. And so it's also interesting, you said at the top of this that when people talk about movies that, you know, deal with mental health, like Split is in this, but surely it's only because the premise of the movie is DID, as opposed to it actually being a good representation of it. It's just that,
like there's a part of me that's like, we've covered so many movies on here that actually don't do a pretty good job of covering certain mental mental health characters who have certain mental health issues, and like, but they're not, the movie's not about that. They just happen to have that within the movie. So there are like obviously some really good examples of that. Like I saw the TV Glow, or even The Menu, like stuff like that. But yeah, I, you know, and you know, this is my second time watching it. I just want to jump on the supernatural superhero like conversation. I'm struggling with one thing in particular, in that like the first time you watch it, the second time you watch it, you know that it takes place in the Unbreakable world, where there are kind of these supernatural elements to it. David Dunn is unbreakable, Mr. Glass, first name Mr., last name Glass, he, he also has a physical disability that is in real life, and they take that to the extreme. David Dunn, they take his, I think his name is David Dunn, they take his like this idea of like an immune system or whatever, and like and enhance that, and then they take this one and obviously enhance it for him to be like the villain, or misunderstood, or whatever the case may be. So like there's a part of me that's like, I understand narratively why they're exaggerating it, but that also comes into conflict with like, choosing something that is already, what's the Psycho, like there's so many movies that already place violence on something like this. Even in like the United States of Tara, like she's not like a great show, and I think they do a better job of representation in that show, but it's still exaggerated for the narrative. And like one of her alters is like, like a party mean person, and another one is like a motherly person, and it's just like it's so much out there that we just keep adding to this narrative, like Jamie just said. And I struggle with, not struggle, but like think about that as in terms of like, but he's creating this bigger world, like could we have done this differently, type of thing, if that makes sense. Like I understand the point, but it still didn't make my second viewing better knowing that it takes place in this superhero world, you know what I mean?
Right because like Jamie said, you still could have gone in so many other directions than
you could have made something up
that.
Or you could have been more campy about it. You could have been you could have leaned like into the visit. You could have leaned into, it's very serious and very grounded, trying to be grounded or present itself as grounded, when you really could have leaned into like the D.I.D. I'm using D.I.D. just because the movie uses it, but like leaning into that D.I.D. like where he's got multiple villain or whatever, like he's struggling within himself. I don't know, I'm making things up now, but like that's something that I definitely struggle with when watching this movie. But I actually agree with Jamie in general. Like I don't know if this is a good movie even if the D.I.D. was done well, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Any other thoughts about it, Jamie?
I feel like there was something else I was going to say. Yeah, I don't know. I have very mixed thoughts on, again, like I like James McAvoy. I really just want to know like what's going on in his head, both in like choosing to play this, but also like what he's like, what prep he did to like get into all of these characters, if you will. Like I just want to know. I feel like I need so much more information about like what the hell is going on here for him. Because I also just, I think it poses another conversation, which like, I don't remember if we've had it on the podcast before, but I feel like it's a conversation I've had with Brian a few times about like casting and diversity and representation in movies, really in all media, but like when people are cast in roles where like, it's like, why did you cast this person when like, the character has this particular characteristic, and like you could have hired like a qualified actor to take on this role without hiring, this more famous person that now you're putting like prosthetics on, or you're just like, okay, this character in this story was a person of color and we're just going to make them white now. Like, that's cool. So I feel like it poses an interesting thing that like, I don't know if people have talked about, like, how does this fit with like mental illness?
That's real.
But like, and perhaps not this particular film, but it just makes me wonder, like, I know that obviously, like, well, I don't want to speak for people who actually are trained in acting, unlike me, but like recognizing that you're, yes, playing a role, but also like how much of yourself are you bringing into that? And if you have experience with like any mental health issues, is that then impacting your performance in any kind of way, especially if the character you're playing also has mental health issues. So like that was just something that I was thinking about of like how often is that even a consideration? And like should it be? So that was just a random train of thought that I had.
Yeah, which is a great question, because how much was James McAvoy like really looking into this, or was it just dealing with what was on the page, right? Just using the information that's on the page. Because some actors will do that. It's like everything that I need is just in this script and I don't need to look outside of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just piggyback and say that I did enjoy James's performance as an actor, but then it does feel a little icky to think that it all feels like a caricature of what people are actually going through.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it would be even hard to make, even though I probably would have enjoyed it more, it would have probably been hard to make it campy too, because it still would have felt too like leaning towards, are we now making fun of this? Like what are we doing? You know?
Yeah. It's just all bad.
Yeah. And then it's just, again, to your first point, just pick something else. You know, not necessarily this.
Yeah.
But
yep.
I'll piggyback off of your likes and gripes, Jamie, because I felt similarly, especially
just to add before Jamie had brought this up when we watched it, but Joaquin Phoenix was supposed to play the lead role. He left the project a few weeks before shooting, and that's when McAvoy joined. It doesn't say anything here about like the work he did for it, and I haven't watched any interviews, but I just wanted to pop that in there.
Well, then that makes me think about like the Joker and that performance, like from him, and then the whole conversation we're having just about, you know, mental health and how it's represented and how actors are going about it and all that stuff. But it's a hard thing and a rough line. But at the end of the day, there are better ways to represent mental health than a lot of these movies are doing. So it's like, take the time, learn the information, and do what needs to be done to make it right, you know, to have a good representation of it in general. But yeah, just speaking on the acting of it all, like I really enjoyed James's performance. And if we are just talking about even the subtleties of his facial expressions when he is moving through the different altars, like it was engaging, you know, and to be able to do that in close-ups where in acting, you know, you don't, it's not theatrical, so you can't give huge moments of change and things. So just for him to have like subtleties in his face and you can see the shift without it being over dramatic, I think was really cool to watch, just from an actor's like standpoint and watching him work. But yeah, but I also felt like some of the decision making in this was a little eye rolly too, especially with the girls trying to get out and leave. And it made me think of like fight flight that we talk about all the time, you know, when they first get kidnapped and he takes one of the girls and the other two are just kind of like sitting there. They don't know what to do. But then like 10 seconds later, they're like, okay, we all three should just jump this guy and just fight him. And it's just kind of like, okay, how are we moving through this? What's going on? What are, you know, so that was just interesting to watch their journey of how they're trying to escape and you know, what mode they were in as far as like fight, flight, and all that stuff. It was wild. We already talked about the exposition, so I won't get into that. But another thing I do like about this movie is that at least we get into the action immediately, so it's not like a slow build up into what's going on.
This movie just like goes.
You're there. Yeah, it's like, oh, they're kidnapped. Okay, cool. I also was curious about the therapist too, because there was one comment that she said about all her patients being her family and she does like live alone and stuff. And I was just like,
that's bad boundaries.
I know. I was thinking like, I don't think that's a mark of a good therapist.
That's how you get smiled.
Yeah.
There you go. Your patients are your family and don't get smiled. Yeah. And yeah, the first time I watched this movie, I thought this is a cool concept and, engaging to watch. But this go around, it was hard to get through.
Yeah, and if I can add to that,
Yes.
outside of the D.I.D, honestly, the D.I.D was obviously like very prevalent because we were watching it through that lens for this, for this recording. But I will say, once you kind of know the plot points of this movie, it's not nearly as interesting because it's not complex. This movie pretends to be. This movie thinks it is more complex and interesting than it actually is, and I think that's one of the things about it. Like, once you know that like Dennis is pretending to be Barry, once you know like that the Beast is coming, once you know her backstory, it's all just kind of boring, to be totally honest. And like I had a hard time getting through it this time too, because like there's nothing surprising or fun or outside of McAvoy's performance, I'll argue. There's nothing like redeeming about it the second time through, honestly.
Yeah, this movie is definitely one that's like on the list of not rewatchable.
Yeah, definitely. And that's like, I think Jamie nailed it at the beginning. We could have stopped after Jamie said like, this just isn't that good of a movie, regardless of how you view the mental health stuff. And I totally agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Brian, you can keep going.
Okay. I actually remembered very little about this movie when we started it, except for like major plot points and weird little details. Like there was like nothing in between that I remembered weirdly. I also agree that this movie just starts. I asked if she was a good therapist. I don't know. Too much sharing. The self-disclosure that she does, like, just wild to me.
Yes.
I wrote easy feet woman. I don't know what that means.
Easy
feet woman.
I don't know.
Was that the neighbor?
Yeah, maybe it was the neighbor.
I don't know what feet.
Oh, Easy Feet. That was the thing she was gonna buy on the TV in the infomercial.
So, yeah, the neighbor. Yes,
yeah. It was the neighbor.
Okay.
Easy Feet. I love that scene. By the way. That's where M. Night Shyamalan shines in a bad way. Like the comedy scenes he tries to write into his movies. Trap being a really good example with the Josh Hartnett character and the other mother of the kids who dissed his daughter. Like those sequences during Trap are like actually kind of funny. The scenes in The Visit that are kind of funny, but like his sense of humor is so weird in the context of these movies, and it's always like uncomfortable, and I kind of like I like that in some ways. I don't know.
I feel that.
Yeah. I guess she loves her. What'd you say?
I said interesting.
I guess she sleeps with her notes.
Oh God!
Wild. I have never done that. Just
a pile of notes everywhere.
No. Also, like they should be locked. That's a HIPAA violation.
Yeah.
They should be locked up.
There you go.
And the final chase takes way too long.
Agreed.
The final chase for some reason felt like it took forever.
Yes.
And I was a little surprised we didn't get more explanation of the concept of like he's an animal and he's keeping them in the zoo, but he's I'm surprised we didn't get more like annoying Shyamalan dialogue. So I appreciated that it wasn't like totally spelled out in some ways. That like symbolic having them at the zoo type thing. Even though again, that undercuts the what the therapist is trying to do in this one, being like, well, he's still an animal.
Right.
And then favorite quote, I've heard Asian people's music aids digestion.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
But I
cringed at that. Yeah.
So did I, but I also found, I think Patricia says it. I think he did a good job of writing all of those characters like to be different and maybe that's just McAvoy the way he performs it, because that's the highlight of this movie. regardless of what, like, his performance in this with the distinct characters, and he clearly as an actor knows what certain one knows and what other characters don't know, and like he clearly did a lot of script work, and I like Nikisha said, I appreciate his performance, but very yeah, but forget about the D.I.D. I just think this movie's actually kind of boring on review watch. I
Yeah.
think, like I said it once, I'll say it again. I think this movie thinks it's smarter than it actually is.
And it builds up to nothing. Like when we
Yeah.
get to her in the cage with the gun and he's like trying to rip the bars open and then he sees her scars and then is just like, and I wrote down this quote. He says, "The broken are the more evolved," and then like walks away. And I'm like, what did I just watch?
Yeah.
What just happened? Like,
I feel like
know.
M. Night Shyamalan tries to be insightful about things he doesn't really know about. I feel like he doesn't
Yeah.
do the research and kind of just like writes these things, and he's like, well, this is meaningful. And that's in a lot of other movies too. Yeah, so that's we got to watch Old. I think we have to do Old next. I'm sure Old.
Oh God.
Yeah, that's really all I have to say about this one. Like, I have no interest in watching this one ever again, and I'll just remember McAvoy giving a good performance. But I could also watch McAvoy give a good performance in 1,000 other movies.
Yep.
Truly 1,000 other movies.
Yeah.
Great. Any last thoughts before we move on?
I want Easy Feet.
Okay. Yes. Get you some Easy Feet. All right, let's get into brains.
Tasty.
Okay, you've already like got into this, so I guess my question is like, do you have any last thoughts about Betty Buckley as a therapist, and it's just about D.I.D. and how it's represented like in this movie?
I think that I don't think she has good boundaries. I'm not entirely sure like what her like approach and practice looks like, but she also has a wild amount of availability if one of her clients is emailing her every single day and she's like, yeah, sure, come in.
Truly. I'm trying to get into, I got to do a week in advance to get my therapy session in.
Yeah. Also, that apartment's like her apartment is like New York.
Yes.
Prices. Like she charging, but she was charging New York therapist prices in Philadelphia.
Right.
Which I think some do, which like, you know, if you got the experience and they want to pay, like, good for you.
Also, that niche population, probably, like, there's probably not a lot of people who deal with that niche population.
Oh, true.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Yeah. I mean, that seems to be the case with her. But yeah, I just feel like and this is maybe also coming from like a biased perspective, because again, every therapist is different. Everyone has a different approach. Some therapists are like very closed off and like don't, you know, sprinkle in any pieces of themselves into things. Some of them are very open and transparent and, you know, sometimes might cry when their clients are crying. Like the spectrum is very wide. For me, observing her, I just feel like she had poor boundaries, both in like the like seeing her client repeatedly. I also would be like, hey, I mean, again, she might be meeting almost exclusively with this population, but there is a part of me that's like, you know, she's like an outpatient therapist. The fact that he is emailing her so frequently would tell me like, hey, do you maybe like, do we need to talk about like a higher level of care, like something that is inherently more frequent, not like full-blown hospitalization, but like they have they have intensive outpatient programs where like you're in, it's like outpatient therapy, but you're just going like 3 times a week, 4 times a week. So like they have, you know, there's like levels, there's steps of intensity for care. So it's not only like, you know, therapy that you're going to once a week or once every other week, all the way to like inpatient.
Yeah.
So, but like that in and of itself would make me be like, hey, like, let's check in. Like, it seems like your needs are really high right now. What's going on? And do we need to like talk about potentially meeting whatever's happening with a higher level of care?
Very true.
So that's what that would also prompt for me. But again, also, I don't have notes in my bed. I don't have notes. I stopped writing notes like 2+ years ago, and like physical paper notes. Like everything lives. Now I have an iPad, and then I delete the notes and write my very secure, you know, minimally identifying notes for all you insurance companies trying to peep on my clients. Fuck you. So yeah, I'm not sleeping next to big stacks of shit. That's wild. So yeah, I think those are my thoughts on her.
And any other lasting thoughts on D.I.D?
I mean, I know we didn't like define it here. And I'm going to make an assumption that like people generally know what it is if they saw this movie. But the idea, or not the idea, but like the basis of it is that there's at least 2 different personality states minimum, which are also called alters, that are existing within one person. And I would say that D.I.D falls on one end of like the dissociation scale. So like I would say on the lowest end is like, you know, like spacing out essentially. You know, you're not totally paying attention to like what's happening right now in this moment. And so like it kind of exists on this spectrum, or like a continuum, if you will. And like sometimes I think there's degrees of dissociation that like we use as defense mechanisms, especially like, you know, if there's something more stressful or more like anxiety inducing or even trauma. And so again, there's a variety of them where it can feel like you're not in your body. It could feel like the world around you feels unreal. It can include memory loss, you know, different streams of consciousness. So like, again, the spectrum or continuum is like pretty wide. So I think sometimes that also can make it harder to identify. And I think also like those symptoms can coincide with some other things like PTSD.
Absolutely.
But usually the inciting event, or like the things that usually potentially lead to a DID diagnosis, is typically some kind of like early trauma, like early childhood trauma. That's like very intense. And then a lot of times, I think the best way to describe it is like an alter kind of coming from a traumatic situation is like imagine something awful is happening to you and you like go somewhere else, right? Like you are like, I'm not here right now. And so the idea is that like there is this other like state of consciousness that is now taking over, when you are like, I can't be here. So again, like different kinds of traumas can lead to like that most extreme degree of dissociating, where like you are not even aware of what's happening in that moment. Again, like, you know, if you think about traumatic experiences, you know, physical violence, sexual abuse, things like that, like very disturbing family dynamics, like all of these things can potentially, you know, be a risk factor.
Which they do try and just describe in the movie, like his
I would
past.
say most representations of DID have like some flashback of like this person was abused as a child, which again, I'm like just over all of these tropes of like, I don't need you to show me like child abuse.
Right.
Which I know I didn't mention that, but also again, the references to child abuse to Anya Taylor-Joy's character.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good.
Didn't
like,
need it.
I'm tired. I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
Right. And the industry said, well, too damn bad.
Yeah, I know.
It out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think hopefully I covered. This is also like not a population that I have worked with. So like this is just based on like, you know, my own research and info gathering, not from personal or lived experience.
Yeah, and I do want to just go back because you were talking about like the traumatic experiences can cause alters to appear or form, and PTSD can cause all of that. And in this, there was a moment where the therapist was saying why Patricia and Dennis and the Beast appeared was because like a moment happened recently where he was like abused. There was something that happened at his workplace, and then they're coming in to kind of like protect him, which I thought was interesting because on a broader scale, it just reminded me of like what we kind of do to protect ourselves from situations, and sometimes that might look like shaming kind of parts of ourselves and things, just to try to deal with what's going on or make sense of what's going on or try to erase in our mind what's going on, or what has happened. So I would love for you if you can just talk about maybe how can we learn to kind of deal with all of those different parts of ourselves and not necessarily put shame on them. Because I know we talked about, especially with like child abuse, sometimes we can take the blame for ourselves and not what the actual situation is, and then try to fix something within ourselves when we're not the ones that are broken. So yeah, I would just love if you can just kind of like give some insight on how you would go about like helping people kind of like deal with that and accept all those parts of ourselves.
Yeah. I think it's interesting also that you're using the word like parts of ourselves, because there is actually there is a like therapeutic modality that's called internal family systems, where it views these like different like parts of you as parts. And so when you say something like, part of me is really frustrated by this, not all of you is frustrated, but like we can pull out that specific part of you that is frustrated and like explore that more deeply. Like, what does this part represent? Like, why might they be frustrated? And like you as the self are kind of like examining what that might mean. And but like it's all kind of within the spectrum of you.
Yes.
So I find that work to be really interesting. It's something that that I have never like performed, because also it's really expensive to get certified in IFS. But it's something that that I've found really interesting, like on the client side, to like dig a little bit deeper into like the parts of you that maybe have some like unresolved stuff that like, your child self, or just like other identities within you, and not in like a dissociative identity disorder way, but just like, different experiences that have impacted you and informed who you are, and like these things that you might be carrying with you, and how it might be contributing to like what's happening now. So I think that like that's one particular modality that like I do think can help with like acknowledging all of these different parts and giving space to them without judging or shaming yourself for like having those experiences.
Which I'm glad that you said the modality, the phrase modality, and family. I think of it in a familial sense, because I know that we sometimes hear about like, oh, my inner child feels this, or oh, my inner child feels, whatever. And so that's great, that you said it is a thing of, if a part of you feels a certain way, like where's it coming from, and then realizing that it could be something that happened in the past, but it's still all you, in a sense, like, well, not in a sense, it all is you, so yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah.
And my last question, and you kind of touched on this already when you were talking about the therapist, but you as a therapist, how do you handle being available for your patients if they might need immediate attention, while also just maintaining your own like personal life and your own boundaries? Because maybe there might be someone who says, I really need to have a session like tomorrow. Like, how are you handling stuff like that?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's important to keep boundaries with clients, but also like to the degree that you're comfortable with, still having some flexibility. So like, for example, I typically have available times. So like if a client reaches out and they're like, do you have anything for later today? I will let them know what I have. If I don't, I'll say like, hey, I don't have these times today, but here's what I have for the rest of the week. Let me know if any of these work for you. So like I try to be as responsive as I can. I within working days, I respond like usually a couple hours later. If it's the weekend, I usually respond like within 24 hours.
Yeah.
Most likely not on a Saturday, but I will respond to people on a Sunday.
Yeah.
So, and that's like my own, I don't have great boundaries, but that doesn't mean that like other therapists can't have better ones. Something else
Yes.
that like I've really tried is, because in old jobs, like my calendar never felt like my own. Like I would just have all this shit put on my calendar, and then like it just became like unsustainable and overwhelming. So now, like in having control over my calendar, I try to stick to my like work hours, my lunch. Like that's really important to me too. Because also I've worked jobs where it's like, oh, no time for lunch, just like shove this thing in your mouth and like go. Which like doesn't feel good. So
No.
and like when you start to compromise taking care of yourself, like eating a meal, it does start to impact your mental health. So it is really important to like make sure you're being protective of your time in that way.
Yes.
Even if you're not like super hungry, but it's like take that hour for yourself just to like get up, take a walk, like pee, drink water. Like some people are just like, not doing any of those things. So I think that like in terms of how to avail yourself and be flexible, but also like, stick to a firm boundary, like you can find wiggle room. And, you have to also be okay with saying like, I'm sorry, I can't do that. And like being okay with it.
Yes.
Because I have gotten referrals where they're like, I'd love to meet with you. Do you have like evenings available? And I'm like, I'm so sorry, I don't. Even if I'm like, I also think this is a good fit and like this would be great to build up my practice, but also I don't want to compromise my time in that way, because then it's just like me not having control over my schedule anymore and like things like that. So, yeah. So I think kind of being flexible with yourself when you do have to like set a boundary that maybe you're like, should I do this? But like, again, it's like thinking about what's the long-term implication of, starting to take on more and more, and how does that potentially burn you out really quickly?
Absolutely. I can't imagine having, session after session in a day and not taking a break, especially because you kind of don't know how involved it's going to be that day. So not having a moment to just take a breather after experiencing or hearing something maybe very heavy is wild to me. So kudos to you for keeping your boundaries.
Yeah. I mean, my worst is like having 4 appointments in a row, which I think I just fixed, but like,
Yeah.
man, that's just a lot. and I get so hungry, and then there's like not enough time to pee. And then I'm just like, oh my God, lock it in, girl. And it's really hard. So yeah, learn from my own mistakes. Leave yourself room to pee in between sessions. Leave yourself room to have a snack at some point or eat lunch, or dinner if you're doing evening, but yeah, take care of yourself so that you can do the work to help take care of other people.
Absolutely. Great. And with that, should we rotten tomato this?
Oh, yes. Let's.
Oh, yes.
It's the Rotten Tomatoes game.
Let's Rotten Tomato this one. Okay, what do you think this has on Rotten Tomatoes? I will say this. The Rotten Tomatoes score, the tomato meter, and the popcorn meter are the same.
Wow. Wowzers.
I'm still going to go low and say 54.
Jamie?
48.
It's a 79.
Okay.
Split serves as a dramatic tour de force for James McAvoy in multiple roles, and finds writer-director M. Night Shyamalan returning resoundingly to thrilling form.
Okay.
All right, moving on.
Not impressed.
I feel like in general we're in the minority of like not really liking this movie, but I don't know that.
No, I think you're right, and that's why I feel like our take is the hot take, which is still really confusing to me.
Very much.
Yes. What do you think this has on Letterboxd from the people? Out of 5.
3.8.
I'm gonna say a 3.
3.5.
What the fuck? Okay, whatever.
Fine, people, fine.
Let's see some of the most popular reviews. At number 3, Anya Taylor-Joy looked straight into the camera and said, "Pee on yourself," and I think I did.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Fucking Anya Taylor-Joy running around in that outfit made me gay.
Fair assessment. Fair assessment.
That's funny.
Totally not related to the movie at all, but I was just pissing myself when the guy behind me in the theater said, "Oh my God, this guy is the fawn from the Chronicles of Narnia," about McAvoy. Of all movies.
Wow.
Oh my
Truly
God.
all movies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lovely. Cool. All right. Should we do the 4 S's?
Yes.
Skull, scare, shakes, and suggestions. The Talking Horrors 4 S's.
The 4 S's are skulls, scare, shakes, and suggestions. We are going to rate skulls, scares, and shakes on 1 to 10. Then we'll give some suggestions. Skulls is how well it handled mental health and human behavior. Scares is how scary was it, and shakes, what do you feel? Will you shake this off? Will you watch it again? We'll see what happens there. Jamie, why don't you start us off?
Sure. For skulls, I gave this a 2 because they're human people who seem to be living, breathing, walking,
doing human things.
The core brain functions they are doing. Beyond that, I don't think that this is a good representation of mental health. And again, I think that M. Night does a bad representation of human behavior with all of this terrible exposition.
Yes.
For scares, I mean, I'm giving it a 1 because it's not scary, but it gets one single 1 because this is a real bad. This is a real bad for mental health.
Yep.
I didn't even put a number for shakes. I don't know how to categorize this for shakes because like I'm going to remember this movie as a movie that does such a poor job representing mental health. So do I score it highly?
But
like,
you're not going to watch it again though. So
no,
you keep the score
I'm
low.
good. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it like a 3.
Okay.
Jamie, those are my exact same scores.
Oh my god! Yay!
Oh, so I have a 2, 1, and 5. I put it right in the middle of that.
Right.
So,
What the hell?
yeah,
What
2,
the
1,
hell's going on
5,
here?
the
Jeez.
Philadelphia area code.
Screaming. That's why I've got
Go
it.
birds!
Go birds.
Go birds.
What? Okay, who's got suggestions?
I just have one, and it's not even about another movie with mental health. It's about like another movie with like strong female survival skills vibes. So I put You're Next.
Okay,
Ooh.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie?
For a better M. Night movie, you should watch The Sixth Sense.
Avi.
And then 2 movies that I feel like are way more interesting and better depictions of mental health are Perfect Blue and Saint Maud.
Great. I'm gonna say you should watch Old, because if you like this craziness, get ready for some more craziness.
I'm not ready.
Get old.
I'm so old.
I mean, I feel old. Is that good enough? Do I have to watch the movie too? All right. Well, that wraps up our episode of Split. You can find us on the socials, Instagram and TikTok at Talk Horror Pod. Also, if you want to go look at our website, go check that out as well. That is there. And producer Brian, where can they listen to us?
You can listen to us wherever you get podcasts. So YouTube, hi YouTube.
Hey.
You can also find us on Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts. Rate and review us there. 5 stars, please.
And thank you.
200 episodes.
We did it.
We did it.
That's it.
Yeah.
We're done. No more.
Yeah. When I think about them, I sing memories.
Oh my God.
All alone in
We'll leave it at that. Thank y'all.
Yeah.
Bye.